you have that last conversation, it's very important to set the ground rules.
Absolutely.
That are you going to let me work and have a career? And if he says, no, I mean, when the children come, you can take time off.
I think
You
it's time
have
to
to
say
be very
goodbye.
clear.
Okay, I think I have to react to this. Firstly, I don't think that it is any man's right to let a woman work. I object to that language entirely because I think that we are now at that point as millennials, Gen Zs, and younger women who are at that precipice of getting married or deciding what family structures we want. And I think the message has to go out very clearly. And I say this to my own team. I've employed more than 300 young women in the last 5 years. And I'm very clear with them that, it is your life, it's your career. You are the one who has to live it. And I have friends who've been, unhappy because they started, maybe they started dating somebody earlier and they got married with some pressure. And these kind of conversations were, for millennials, definitely not as common as they are now amongst the Gen Zs, where we still had the let me kind of, we still had that 5-7 years ago. Now I am seeing it less, at least in our circles. We cannot let anyone do anything.
Puts you in a power of position.
It puts you in a. You remember that Farhan Akhtar scene?
I was just getting to Dil Dhadakne Do.
Dil Dhadakne Do.
Yeah.
We cannot
Power
have
of
that.
authority.
No, it's our life. It's our choice. It's my choice whether I choose to have a child or not. It's my choice if I choose to get married or not. If after getting married I want to take a break, again, my choice. If after getting married I want to take my husband's surname, sure, my choice. If I don't, again, my choice. No one has the right to come and tell me you can do this or you cannot do this. And this is one of the reasons also why we're seeing such a turmoil in marital relations, right? Because there is this mindset that many women are coming with. But men have not been brought up with that mindset. The upbringing of men really needs to evolve because they need to understand that they are going to meet very empowered and very forthcoming women and they're going to have to keep up with them. And I want to mention my mother-in-law and my husband both in this conversation because every TV appearance that I do on this topic, I always say I thank my mother-in-law for the upbringing that she has given to my husband. My husband cooks every day. It's just the norm. He likes cooking, I like eating. But that is what I'm talking about, that we cannot have family structures subsist where we use the language even of I will let you do that because I'm a man. Also, today in the conversations, if you notice, we have used this term of I am as good as a man, like, the woman is as good as a man many times. And this is also problematic. We have to use the terminology of gender equality. We have to use the terminology of all genders, and we are just talking about 2 genders today. We haven't talked about the others.
Absolutely.
So we have to talk about the fact that all genders need to become equal, need to be viewed as equal, and need to be viewed for their capability rather than their gender.
Right. But also, I agree with you, and we need to make that change.
Yes.
But again, Shailaja ma'am's point, how till the time we do not reach to that day, we have to continue doing what we have to do.
Absolutely. And
like
it starts with us, right?
It
starts
does.
with all of us, where we start advocating for a language which is more, gender neutral. A language and a discourse where we are not reducing ourselves. Where we are empowered to at least place ourselves in a position where we have the confidence to say, you know what, I deserve this. I deserve a husband who cooks for me. Not because of any reason, but because he's a better cook than me.
Absolutely. It has nothing to do with gender.
Exactly.
Again,
Also, I think what Shailaja ma'am said about relationship, I think we have also come to that point, as genders.
Yes.
Where we have to have those, and we have to encourage those healthy conversations.
Exactly.
I think what ma'am said.
I mean, I'm sure she was trying to say that in case there's somebody who's not letting you work, then you should not be sitting there, and you should actually be making that point out and clearly saying
What
that
I
you want
really
to
You
work.
have to assert yourself
Exactly.
very young in
Yeah.
a boardroom,
Absolutely.
in a top level meeting. I'll give you what happens in a typical big meeting or a typical boardroom
Right.
meeting. I've seen both. As you start talking and you're making a point, the man will take, as she has correctly said, and he's taken your point away.
Yeah.
His voice is louder.
Yeah.
If you don't stop him then and say, excuse me, I want to complete my point, and now, can you give me 2 minutes, just 2 minutes without
Yeah.
interruption? There will be pin drop silence for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Also adding to that, you know,
yes.
as I was telling you, Ananya, earlier, that there have been cases, ma'am, where, you know, you start speaking in a boardroom and you're done speaking, and then suddenly a man would come and say, I think she means this.
Yes.
No, I mean what I said. I don't
Exactly.
mean what you want to
Correct.
say. You know, do not interpret what I said. I said it in as many words I wanted to. I made my
You
point,
have
and
to
that's it.
assert yourself then.
That's it, you know, and you have to say that. But as a woman, you have to have that kind of independent belief in yourself that you did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You know, these men will probably go outside the boardroom, bond over something, you know, and they'll probably have things to say about you as well, ki zyada banti hai, you know. But have to have that belief, you know, that will take you everywhere. That will make you stronger than you already are.
I think times have changed quite a bit,
Yeah.
at least in the metropolitan cities. You know, with education, I think the approach of men has also changed a lot, because I don't find them really repressive with, you know, working wives. They are more enabling.
Yeah.
I think times have changed a lot from, you know,
It has.
from the earlier generations, and I think it's positive, and I think we're all moving towards a, you know, a better society, a more egalitarian society.
But you know, that's how relationships will now survive.
Yes.
Because if you don't respect your partner,
Yeah.
whether he goes to work or I go to work, or how much time we spend at work, if you don't respect their independent choices, then
Also,
that will not
again,
work out.
The respect doesn't have to be subjective to, oh, if she's a housewife, say,
Yeah.
then I'll respect her, but the moment she's going out, I won't.
Exactly.
So respect has to be there throughout, you know, whatever the
Absolutely.
choices of the person is.
Exactly.
But I think
irrespective.
actually the change has also come because women have become revenue generating.
Yes.
They bring revenue into the family, and the husbands realize it.
Yes.
So they have become far more enabling, and times have changed a lot. In the metropolitan cities, in the towns and all, it may be, you know, a little more
I
feudal.
think it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's an
It's a
evolving process.
of evolution.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's also about the earning potential. So if as a couple, when you migrate to a urban center, you can earn more, save more, and actually send back the remittances to a rural setup, you are seeing a lot of working class migration of that kind that you know that we've been studying, and women are one of the biggest beneficiaries, in fact, because that's how they participate in the labor force, and they also gain some agency, you know, in terms of decision making. So definitely we are seeing evidences of this not only in the metropolitan, you know, born and bred women, but women who migrate to metropolitan areas as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, but in rural areas, things are still, you know, where the labor force participation of women is really incredibly low. And that is all a totally different cycle. You are talking about women like us. But I think what really one should be looking at is women who do not have control over their reproductive rights.
Yes.
Where contraception is not something they can have in their own hands to decide. These are things, early marriage, producing a child within 9 months and then having the second child straight away and going in for sterilization. All that is changing. I think the, what is it called, the institutional deliveries have gone up. Our maternal mortality has come down, infant mortality has come down. But even so, women don't have that kind of control over their own bodies, their own future, their own do I want a child, which is why they cannot take any employment, because they don't know whether they're going to get pregnant the next month.
Yes.
So I think that is something where the rural women have been completely subjugated by the very fact that they don't control the most important part of a woman's life, which is the reproductive cycle. And she is expected to conform. That is something which goes beyond women like us and does require a lot of attention.
Absolutely.
Another aspect is also that there is discrimination in wages between male and
Yes.
women.
Oh, yes.
There's a huge difference there.
Yes.
So they may work long hours, even long hours, but they're paid far less.
Yeah.
That is one issue, and after all, 80% of India is in the rural areas.
Correct.
So we can't forget that also.
Even in the corporates, you know, like she pointed that out, that the pay disparity, ma'am. You know, I've had people in the leadership position telling a woman while they're interviewing them, and I'm, you know, also part of those groups, where the person is so, you know, they're just out and loud about asking women, telling them that, oh, like you are just taking it as a second option. No, the heavy load is being done by the husband, so you can just settle on this, you know, this kind of amount, this kind of salary, you know, because that won't
not the
affect you.
primary,
You are not the primary earning source. So you know, probably you could just, you know, it's a good position. It's you'll be comfortable here. You know, you'll be given your offs and everything. You'll be put in a certain shape. So you can go home early, and you know, those are the extra benefits they want to say. That as a woman we are giving you, so you should just settle for this salary because the heavy load is being done.
These are the benefits. you
Yes,
get.
so the heavy load is being done by your husband. So that's it, you know, and that exists in the, I think, more in the corporate world, ma'am.
Ma'am, you've been quiet for a while. What do you think about the discussion that's
So I was
happening?
listening to
Yeah.
all of these discussions and about the reproductive health rights and the conversations regarding having children, when to have the children, who should look after the children, and all these things. So I have a little point of view from a doctor's perspective.
Yeah, sure.
And I'll say it's not just the physical health, mental health is also very important.
Yes.
So if you can't be in a constant duel or argument, either vocally or mentally within yourselves.
Right.
So I think there should be peace at home.
Yeah.
There should be a lot of conversation and a happy conversation between the two people,
Right.
the husband and the wife or the partners, as whatever happens these days, so that you arrive at a common decision. It's not just my I.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're living together, it should be we,
Yeah.
and we should take common decisions. So a lot of people come late into their lives, couples come late into their lives, having crossed 35 or 40 years of life. And then they want to have a child.
Yeah.
And what kind of mental agony they go through. Yeah. So if they've had these discussions earlier,
Yeah.
so okay, career is there. Yes, you decide. If you do not want to have a child, don't have it. But if you do want to have a child, why not have it at the right time?
Yeah.
Breast cancer. One of the ways of protecting oneself against breast cancer is to breastfeed your child for a year. And having your child before the age of 30 years. Why not?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
You have to have that
what all
conversation.
kinds of medical problems we are going through, IVF, twins, triplets, miscarriages, what all complications of pregnancies women are facing. Women are facing themselves physically, their husbands or their other family members are in mental agony
Yeah.
equally. So I think there has to be a little of balance. One should not do away with the family structure. We should have more conversation. If you want to have a career, it's fine. But that involves more of conversation, more of communication, and a positive one at that. And that's how I think we can have happy families, happy children, and our stress at work will be less. I mean, as a lot of you were saying that, I was overhearing eavesdropping my husband. So today morning, somebody was saying to him that, oh, you are so supportive of your wife. And I heard him say, and I felt very nice. He said that when he was doing his DM cardiology, he was telling that I was the one who would sit up at night, make notes for him, because being in the same profession, so I could help him with a lot of things and reports, doing all that. And so he's saying, I'm just paying back the cards
Oh,
So it was so nice to hear that.
very sweet.
And no wonder he's waiting downstairs for me.
He is.
You're lucky.
So I'm saying,
Then you provide the right environment for the children to grow.
Absolutely.
They need
that's
to
so
have a
important.
peaceful, harmonious environment. Because if you're loggerheads, then it can be the worst thing for the children.
Also, it sets an example for them, for their life in future as well. Clubbing like a couple of points here, workplace harassment, what kind of, again, harassment can be mental and physical of any kind. So was it there back when you started your career? And also the challenges, have they reduced for today's women, or has its face just changed? We have people like you who've had a lot of experience, and we have younger women, like we have started out, it's been a decade probably or a little over that. So how do you see the challenges that used to be there when you started off? Have they changed or they have reduced?
Not changed, they have certainly reduced.
Yeah.
I think the environment is far better now, at least in the cities. I'm talking only about the cities. Like in the legal profession, when I started, there were just about 7-8 women in the Supreme Court. Some were floating population who got, once they got married, they moved away. There were others who came from a judicial or a legal background, in the sense their fathers were either former judges or sitting judges, and or daughters, sons of lawyers who had taken to the profession as a full-time career. Now the times have changed. Today, you won't believe it, because I'm on the advisory board of all the consortium of CLAT institutions in the country. We find that women's performance in the CLAT exams is far in excess of men. And a lot of solicitor firms tell me that we prefer women because they're conscientious, they're methodical in their work, and they're not distracted. So, obviously men also, as she won't like this expression, but having been the breadwinners, are always looking for, greener pastures to keep moving on. So, they get onto the fast track, and so people don't prefer to, they prefer to keep women and who are from the national law schools. So the times have changed a lot. Today, there are women in all walks of life, and especially after the economy opened up, the opportunities are really there. Jobs in PSUs, jobs in foreign banks, in Indian banks, the kind of pay scales they get in the State Bank of India, Reserve Bank is unbelievable. And then MNCs in their, in-house counsel. So there are several opportunities apart from litigation. In fact, even litigation today has become far more remunerative within a year or two of your passing out of law college. So times have certainly changed. Job opportunities are there, and you're earning much, much more than people did, when I had joined the profession. It took years and years, at least a decade before you really started earning sufficiently.
Absolutely. Shailaja ma'am?
You talked about harassment. Harassment is not necessarily from top down. It can also be within peers.
Absolutely.
One is to make risque jokes, or to make fun of you, or make you feel inadequate by tittering when you are talking or something. I think the harassment of that kind from the top, once people realize that you were dedicated and you were persevering, it didn't come from the top. I mean, to be very frank, I've worked with so many cabinet ministers, I have worked with so many chief ministers, at least 4 of them I have worked with. I have never found them making a distinction between men and women if you were delivering. If they knew that they could tell you something and you would be able to respond, they made no distinction. But your peer group certainly did. And in any new job that you went to, you started on a clean slate. Even if you had a reputation that you were honest, hardworking, you were a go-getter, it didn't matter. In a new job, they would test you out. They would do things to test out how much the envelope can be pushed. So that is harassment of a kind, because as she correctly said, as the doctor correctly said, your mental peace is also very important. That is harassment if your mental equilibrium is being shaken by somebody. And that does get shaken in every new job. You may reach the very top, but they will test. That is harassment of a different, it's not a Me Too harassment at all. So you have to be on your guard for the chemistry of what is going on. You look at all the STEM performance. In the STEM areas, women are outshining men. In the STEM jobs, when they first get off their feet, they do extremely well. Somebody must study why they fall off. They just leave STEM, that is science and technology and engineering, and they leave all that for some reason. Why? Is it harassment? Is it that they can't cope? Because that is the cutting edge. We are all professional women, but if women scientists come up, ISRO has them, but they're not there in so much in evidence anywhere else, and they have performed better than men in the examinations, as she very correctly said. So what is that happening over there? In my situation, I would say in a career like the IAS or the central services, your career path is already drawn for you. I can know right from the day I join where am I going to go. Maybe not postings and transfers, but I know the alignment. There you don't know the alignment. So I would just say that there is a harassment, but it's of a different kind. It is not the type that we say is harassment. You have to be alive to it. You must be alive to it and be able to respond without creating a drama. If you have to argue, you have to be clear that what issue am I taking up? You can't argue and make an issue of everything. Nobody will take you seriously. You have to pick your things. So I think that is my experience, and I think women will be able to shine, as she was also very correctly, everybody has been saying, the times have changed. The young women that I come across now, and I'm still, trying to be active on Twitter and on all kinds of social media. I write a lot, and I do find that the reactions I get from women are bang on. They are very clear about, where they stand, and I think that India is going to shine at this professional level as far as women are concerned. I am worried about rural women. They're not moving into the economic independence as fast as they should.
That's very important, having that zeal of making yourself financially independent is the basic first biggest step. Having to understand at a very young age that you have to do something for your financial independence. I'm so glad that, ma'am, you would agree that during COVID and all of the whatever tough time that we had to face, there were so many women who could come out as entrepreneurs, who were, if not doing anything, they were just having their own YT, YouTube channels and doing cooking and everything, and they were earning out of it, So that phase made them probably realize that having that kind of independence is so crucial, because financial independence gives you the choice to make decisions. Right, wrong, no.
That's right.
To have decision-making power, even that equal power in a family, in any setup, it's so important, and that financial independence gives you the confidence to take that decision. That's very important. And to add to what ma'am said, times have changed. Like, today we have maternity leave in place. But somehow, people who would, of course, harassment would exist, they would try to, twist it in some way or the other. That, women will be hired and be questioned that, are you expecting sometime soon, or you just got married, so would you take a break, or when are you planning your baby, because according to which will hire you, and sometimes it makes sense, sometimes, because if, say, somebody is hiring you for, they're investing in you, and they are looking at, say, a 5-year or a 10-year plan. Not to say that, that will give a backseat to your plan, but these kind of healthy conversation is okay if it's healthy, but if they are using it as a tool, to just tell you that you probably are not very competent for the job because of your biological, way that you live and you exist, we have to stop using and finding problems in things that were not there and that are now existing, probably for the betterment of the society and not just for women.
So looking at the data on STEM graduates, we've studied the data since the last 50 years actually. We've built a proprietary database on STEM as well as on women's labor force participation rates, drawing on the NSSO statistics that come out. So what we've observed in STEM, particularly as ma'am was talking about that, is that there is a big divide in STEM in terms of the actual subdivisions within STEM. So you have engineering as one stream, and then you have sciences, like pure sciences as one stream. In the pure sciences, 70 to 80% of the postgraduates and PhDs are women. And in engineering, 70 to 80% of the postgraduates and PhDs are men.
Very interesting.
And what happens is, these women, right, there is still a gender gap in the IITs, etc., but less so in the PhD classes, but much more so in that very sought after BTech and MTech course, because all of the IT firms are hiring these techies. And when I say the word techie, all of us thought a guy.
Yes.
With the headphones on.
So the fact that we all also thought a guy, we have to change again ourselves also, and we can think of a nice nerdy girl next time, right? But this gap is the reason actually, ma'am, why we are finding that a lot of women, when they finish their PhDs, again then they want to choose to have a child, choose to get married. PhD is a big commitment. And of course, you deserve to have a break after you have done a PhD. But that's the point where we see the fall off from the labor force. That there is a smaller section of these women graduating, post-graduating, and then continuing into the labor force. Whereas in the engineering side, it's a natural, immediate transition into the labor force. And there, even the women who are joining the labor force in the engineering space are definitely retaining for 5 to 7, at least 10 years. Because you see the glass cliff starting to emerge and the first drop-off point starting to emerge about 10 to 12 years into the workforce.
So what is the proportion between the engineering and non-engineering?
It's about 60-40. So most are engineering and about 40% are the pure sciences. And I also want to mention on harassment. You talked about harassment, and of course I completely agree with everyone that there's definitely a change. You see more women, you'll find it a bit easier to speak out. You have the POSH Act now, which also makes it easier because you now have, you are supposed to have, let me not say you have, the internal complaints committee in every workplace establishment. But what is new now is something which we call TFGBV, which is Technology Facilitated Gender-Based Violence.
Okay.
And you see that, I see it with my team. I will give you an example. One of my young team members was giving a lecture in a college. And she was harassed constantly throughout that lecture. It was a webinar because people were not taking her seriously as an economist and were just commenting on her appearance, on her attire, on what she was wearing, nobody's listening to the technical part of her speech. She's there as an economist. So this technology facilitated gender-based violence. When we say violence, you think of physical violence, but this is also harassment.
Right.
And when your photos are circulated, your videos are made about you, this kind of harassment didn't exist before, because a lot of our personalities are now digital.
Right.
So we are being harassed that way also.
Social media.
Social media.
Trolling. You go out.
Yeah.
I've had instances, ma'am, where I've asked, there's a woman and there are 3 men in an interview and the movie promotion is happening and I'm there. And I can see journalists, especially male journalists, I would say that it is their fault if they don't know what are the right questions to ask, because they should be aware of that. But I've had so many times, I've seen, and I've just been taken aback when they ask a woman that, which designer are you wearing? Even when the film is about, say, a drug menace or terrorism, they would find a way to ask the heavy questions to men.
Yeah.
And that comes from that mentality where you believe that, the woman here, the actress here,
is dressing up and
is
it
just
glamour
there
and,
as a commodity to sell the film.
Yes.
And not to speak about the
Actual
actual
film.
issue that the film is addressing.
Correct.
You know? But that point is there. But then I've also had instances where I've asked actresses and other women in the industry about what do you think of this national issue, or what point of view do you want to make there, and they simply refuse. They will tell me the point of view off the camera,
but not on.
but not on camera, because they fear social media trolling. They fear that
my God.
if I were to say something, if I were to make a certain point on camera, that would make my male counterpart, the hero, look, belittle him, on camera. So I've had those instances. So when we talk about equality, we're talking about rural areas. It just exists so deeply everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just there. And there are women in that very sorry state to be in, where even when you have a platform, you can't speak because
Yeah.
you fear certain things.
Because you're trying to project yourself in a particular way.
Yes.
You're made to.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want
Yeah.
to, there is
you
a,
are being told
yeah.
that that's how you should appear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your appearance is the biggest aspect, and
That's
your
the
appearance
part
is
of
why
the
you are
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make the film look good.
Yeah,
That's what they say.
just to make the
Yeah.
film look good. So that's been there. I mean, kudos we have had Vidya, I think, in the industry. I really respect her. Where
Yeah.
she was the first person, ma'am, who said that I will not fit in a gown if my body does not want me to fit in a gown, and I would not walk on the red carpet wearing that gown. A dress is supposed to fit me, not the vice
Not the
versa.
other way
Exactly.
So I mean, of course, thankfully we have had those kind of women in the industry who speak their mind, but then you see the kind of opportunity that they are given. The moment
As
you
compared
start
to-
speaking,
yeah.
you're just trashed in a corner.
You're a nuisance.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're a
yes,
nuisance.
you're a nuisance. You're a very difficult person to be.
Oh, yeah.
You are a difficult person.
Oh, I've heard that. Not that woman.
Not that woman.
Yeah. I think all of us have heard that.
Oh, and in our profession, okay, let me do the background check. And the moment you hear that term, you are like, okay, who? My editor? He's going to give you not a very good, response. You think on those lines. Oh, you go back and you realize, okay, if this person is the HR is going to do my background check, you'll only get to hear difficult stories. Oh, she's difficult to manage. She'll just speak her mind. So those
a
are
problem.
difficult things. But then you have to rise.
Yes.
You can just be
I
with
think
this.
both these things, whistleblowing is of course corruption, mostly corruption really, but this one, the sexual harassment one, has had a very salutary effect. Because I have been on the government side, I've been on the corporate side, I've been on the NGO side and the academic side, all four, some post-retirement jobs or the other, but wherever I went, I found that now you can't wriggle out of it.
You can't.
That
That's right.
complaints committee will kick in, and you can try and influence them, but it's not easy.
Yes. It's not easy now.
I think that's one great thing that's
big-
happened.
Really, that's
Big
correct.
change.
The good thing about that is that hasn't only come from women. Even men.
Yes, yes.
Men have fought.
Yeah.
I've had instances where people, like my personal journey, my husband stood out in front of so many men saying that she will say, she will be having her socks pulled up all the time. If you don't agree with her, you pull your socks up. She will not put her, socks down. You try and you put more efforts. She will not start putting less efforts, or she will not unlearn what she has learned. Just to equalize things in a newsroom. So I think men also have been there.
Absolutely.
Fighting for harassment, especially. And that's
Well, actually, I mean, if you think of 2012 December when Nirbhaya took place,
yes.
one never expected so many men
Men
to be
stand
out.
up.
Yes.
That means deep down that
Yes.
feeling has,
Percolated.
percolated.
Yeah, sure.
And they do see their daughters, their wives, their, female members of the family. And they do react, which I think deep down, men are not to be sort of castigated as all being, I think
Absolutely.
Not at all.
Absolutely. So I'd like to end this with Maya Angelou's quote that says that each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it, possibly without claiming it, she stands up for all the women. So thank you so much for being here and giving out this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.